Okay, it is 6 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call, starting on my right.
Mitch Glines, Planning and Zoning.
Mark Schneider, Planning and Zoning.
Jeff Anderson, San Diego Township.
Peter Owen, Orac Township.
Francine Larson, Blue Hill Township.
Steve DeMules, Palmer Township.
Terrence Vandereyck, Clear Lake Township.
Bruce Abel, Big Lake Township.
Kathy Sims, Haven Township, that's where I'm from, right? Okay, yep.
Butch Hass, Livonia Township.
Gary Gray, Sherburne County Commissioner, District 4.
Linwood Hashik, Planning and Zoning. Carrie Winter, Planning and Zoning.
And do we have someone new? An unfamiliar face. Welcome.
Two of them.
Thank you.
Two. Weren't you in the, were you in the audience last time? No?
Probably back in November, probably.
Okay, you look familiar. Okay, welcome.
We will want to make sure that all of the members' mics are on. I need to state to the crowd that the meeting is being recorded, both audio and visual, and that the Planning Commission is a recommending body. The items heard here tonight at the Planning Commission hearing will be heard at the County Board of Commissioners on May 6th at 9 o'clock a.m. And all comments from tonight will be forwarded to the County Board. Are there any changes to the agenda for tonight?
There are none.
And we'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda is approved. And then, then has everyone had a chance to review the March minutes? And if so,
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll move on to agenda item number 1. 80 Droran requests a conditional use permit for a horse stable, commercial. PIDs 15-00025-1101 and 15-00025-111 in Section 25, Township 35, Range 27, Blue Hill Township, 10.19 acres. Mr. Glines.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you mentioned, Addie Drone is requesting a conditional use permit for a horse stable, specifically a commercial horse stable. Blue Hill Township did comment on this. You can see it was a while ago, and I'll get to why we got their comments so long ago. As the Blue Hill Township gave an unanimous favorable recommendation for a CUP for a horse stable contingent on meeting the county requirements. This is on a county road. David Rodell did comment, our Assistant Public Works Director. He has no concerns with the CUP. It does not appear that it will generate a lot of traffic with 15 horses. The approval would be contingent to no events being hosted at the site. And Courtney Frank with the MPCA, we had some communication back and forth. She did comment that Addie, has updated the registration with the MPCA. If she isn't looking at building anything, she's good to go on their end. It doesn't look like the property's in the shoreline, so she wouldn't need to be registered if she didn't want to be, but she is. So with that, the request is for, one of the requirements for a CUP is that it has to be at least 10 acres. The property had there was 2 parcels. One of them was 9 point some acres, and the other one was 1 point some acres. But with those combined, she does meet the requirement at 10.19 acres. We did get a lot combination form submitted. It's been sent to the auditor treasurers, and when the second half taxes are paid, it will be combined. You can see the 1101 and 111. So with that, there is an existing structure on the property. It was built in 1996, specifically for a riding arena. However, we never got a final inspection on that, and so with that, they needed a structural engineer to go out there and inspect the building to make sure it was suitable for a commercial use. They did have Duffy Structural Engineer go out there. They did review it, and it is suitable. We do have a letter on file. They are proposing a maximum of 15 horses on the site. The Maximum number of boarded horses will not exceed 10, plus an additional 3 to 5 horses for personal use and riding lessons for non-horse owners. Within that structure, there are 4 stalls, and the remaining horses will be kept outside. Hours of operation are proposed Monday through Sunday, 7 a.m., 9 p.m., with training and lessons will be held Sunday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Currently, no additional employees. They may add some in the future for horse care and chores. Again, the applicant has submitted a certificate of compliance to the MPCA. Zoning has verified that the MPCA did receive the request per those comments received. The manure will be stored in 18-foot roll-off dumpsters and hauled away on a regular basis by a company out of Hugo, Minnesota. There are no bathrooms in the riding stable. They will utilize a portable toilet, and the septic system that services the house was upgraded in 2022 prior to the sale of the property to the Droans. With that, I'm able to answer any additional questions, or the applicant is available in the audience.
I have one question, it's probably not applicable to this application, but what's the story behind that 1 acre parcel?
Not the one to the north?
Yes, sir.
No idea.
No idea.
No, I just, with it being sold together, it did meet that minimum 10 acres, so they did combine them, but I don't know the reasoning why that was split off or separate from this one.
Any other questions of staff? We will call the applicant to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Addie Drone, and I reside at 29176 144th Street, Northwest Zimmerman.
And I'm Robert Drone. I'm also on the deed of the property. I might have an answer for that parcel question for you. I don't have a solid one, but
Well, I'd like to hear it.
the original owner of the property, the one that built the house in the first place, had a trucking business, or he was an independent trucker, and they wanted a second driveway on the property, I believe. And in order to get a second driveway approved, they had to parcel it out
I see.
so they could have a turnaround. That's why it shows that turnaround driveway in there.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Just curious. Are you aware of the required 10 conditions and able to abide by them?
Yes.
Any problems at all with that?
No.
Another comment that really doesn't apply here, I noticed you have a cistern on the site. Do you capture rainwater?
No.
No. Okay.
Again, that was a previous owner that would dump their travel trailer in there. It's just been sitting there. We could, if necessary, fill it in, or the possibility too is, and we'll get that permitted if we do it, is putting a permanent bathroom in the facility, and then we would need a place for a cistern anyway, so.
Sure, sure.
But that's not in the immediate plan, so.
Any questions of the applicant from the board? Any questions? No? At this time, we'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this issue? Anyone wishing to speak on this issue? Is there anyone wishing to speak on this issue?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, at this time, what are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I will make a motion to approve with the 10 conditions.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
At this time, we'll have a recital of the findings. Mr. Glines.
Thank you. Francine, you ready?
Yep.
All right, number 1, that the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, or substantially diminish and impair property values within the immediate vicinity.
Yes, the proposed use is a commercial riding stable. This is a large parcel of land. The property will not have more than 15 horses on it. The proposed use is compatible with existing uses in the surrounding area.
Number two, that the establishment of the conditional use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for uses predominant in the area.
Yes, the use will not impede normal development of this property or neighboring properties. The property is on a county road, and the neighboring properties to the east have been developed for single-family housing. The properties to the north, south, and west have been established as larger acreage housing.
Number three, that adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities have been or are being provided.
Yes, the applicant is not requesting additional utilities beyond what a normal resident would require.
Number four, that adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide sufficient off-street parking and loading space to serve the proposed use.
Yes, the applicant has sufficient parking space to accommodate the proposed use.
And number five, that adequate measures have been or will be taken to prevent or control offensive odor, fumes, dust, noise, and vibrations so that none of these will constitute a nuisance, and to control lighted signs and other lights in such a manner that no disturbance to neighboring properties will result.
Yes, it is not anticipated to cause offensive odors, fumes, dust, noise, and vibration to the immediate area. A maximum of 15 horses is allowed. It is anticipated that 10 acres is enough acreage to adequately handle any manure issues.
Thank you.
It has been moved and approved, or moved and seconded to approve the conditional use permit, and the findings have been recited. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you for your application, and this will be in front of the county board on May 20th. It behooves you to be here for that meeting, so.
May 6th.
May 6th.
Correct, yep.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Will be another meeting then?
May 6th. County board, 9 a.m. Thank you.
We need to hang around.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 2, Brandon Johnson and Rebecca Holm requesting an interim use permit for cannabis microbusiness with endorsements for cultivation and manufacturing. PID 30-00027-2402, 24-331 US Highway 10, Zimmerman, Section 27, Town 34, Range 26, Livonia Township. 10 acres in a general rural district. Mr. Schneider.
Yep, just one quick correction on the packet that was sent up to the Planning Commission. I had Highway 10, not Highway 169.
Oh,
Yep,
Good
somebody
point.
that caught it is in attendance. So, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that was addressed.
okay, yeah.
So we do have board packet attachments. They did provide us with an updated floor plan. You'll see that in the board packets. Livonia Township did recommend approval of this request. MnDOT, because this is on Highway 169, did look at their application and doesn't seem that there'll be an issue with MnDOT, the reuse of existing building for cannabis. So they had no objections to the continued access to this property. So Brandon Johnson and Rebecca Holm are proposing to operate a cannabis micro business with endorsements for cultivation and manufacturing from approximately 1,800 square feet of an existing 4,000 square foot building on the property. The remaining building footprint has been a permitted commissary kitchen with shipping and receiving. So if you remember, we saw this same building in 2024 for commissary kitchen to support their food truck business. So moving forward, they're looking to use the other half of this building for this cannabis business. The applicant intends to grow and harvest and process cannabis flowers and related products. They'd like to expand the business in the future to a separate building, but at this time, the IUP would only cover the cannabis activities in the existing building. If in the future they do want to expand their operations, zoning staff is recommending that they will have to apply for a new interim use permit, as they have not provided all the necessary information to permit business activity outside of the existing building. According to summary of the IEP, the board pack attachments, only personal vehicles are proposed with a maximum of 4 trips a day, 2 deliveries a month, days and hours of operation. 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week with 24-hour security monitoring. Signage will comply with state requirements. Insurance will be obtained once they get their license from the Office of Cannabis Management. And solid waste will be managed in accordance with State Statute 342.23. Security, they'll have an alarm system, video surveillance, adequate lighting, and locks. Access will be restricted to badges authorized employees. All security plans have to comply with Minnesota Rule 9810.15 and state statutes as listed. Security requirements be monitored by the applicant and a third-party security company. So that was something kind of new in the rules that I didn't really know. The HVAC design will specify how pollutants will be controlled on the intake and outtake with carbon filters to mitigate and reduce any odors associated with it. The design will be submitted with the engineered building plans. Supplementary information in the board packets details the overall operations, how they will manage waste items, how basically state that there'll be 2 employees other than residents of the household supporting this business. Deliveries and visitors will be monitored and scheduled. As this is a residential property, Brandon Johnson is a relative homesteader of the property, lives on site, and has rapid access to the accessory building. Most wastewater is non-psychoactive. The applicant can go into more details with this. And the waste products can be handled in regular trash. OCM requires cannabis businesses to determine the classification of all waste and report on its disposal. According to the applicant, 80% of the water use, 80% of the water used to water the plants will be evaporated and managed through the HVAC system. So there won't be kind of a stream of wastewater coming out of this business. The water goes to the plants and the other remaining part is typically evaporated. They're proposing to have 800 square feet of flowering capacity. Under state's micro business licensing, they could have a plant canopy of up to 5,000 square feet indoors. According to the applicant, they will be using water extraction, a solvent-free method that immerses cannabis plants in freezing water. The plant is stirred in cold water, which causes the hairs and the to come off in the freezing water and basically catch that material. So no chemicals are used in the extraction of the chemicals associated with flowering plants. Final building plans did get prepared. They were just submitted yesterday as part of the board's pack, and I'll show those in a second. Sherburne County's 2040 comprehensive plan did identify this front portion of the property for business and industry, like many of our stretches along Highway 169. And with this application, we have 10 conditions of approval. Being that this is our first interim use permit for a cannabis business, probably a little bit of learning for everyone involved. The applicant has done their homework, and I think that they'll be able to respond to a lot of the questions that you may have. So with that, we'll just zoom in real quick on the property. There is her parcel. It's a 10-acre parcel. Operational plans, and I want to get to the floor plans. So there's the building right here. So about 800 square feet is used for their commercial kitchen. Then they have some storage area in that northern part, and then their cannabis business will be operated out of the southern half. And these were the original plans that came in with the application, and these are the revised architectural plans for the proposed building and use. And so there's that building, but I'm going to zoom in on this one and probably leave it up there for a little bit so the board can kind of see what we're talking about. So there's that existing kitchen that's operating under an existing interim use permit, and this is a separate interim use permit. So they did already do these bathrooms and these hallways, and all this has been inspected and approved by both the county and the state. And so now this is where their proposed operation is. Flower room, yeah, and I'll let the applicant kind of dive into this stuff. So if the board has any questions for me related to the staff report or anything connected with cannabis right now, I'm happy to respond.
Any questions from the board for the staff? At this time, we'll call the applicant to the podium, please. State your name and address for the record.
Becky Holm, I'm the owner of the property at 24331 Highway 169 in Zimmerman.
Brandon Johnson, reside at 24331 US 169 North, Zimmerman.
Nicholas Marine,
Your address?
13638 Partridge Circle, Andover, Minnesota.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
I have one question.
Yes.
So you have a cannabis business and you have a kitchen.
Yes.
Are there any special precautions, any special things that you had to do in order to be able to operate those two in the same building?
We had a code review done on the building, and it was stated that a firewall wasn't needed for a dual entity or a dual use within the building.
As far as the Office of Cannabis Management Regulations, if you're using a commercial kitchen for cannabis resale purposes for producing product that you're going to sell retail, that kitchen must be cannabis only. If you're using, otherwise, you can do product research and development in the kitchen. But as far as separation, we do have a wall that separates them already, and they're two separate entities. So with the state regulations, there aren't any issues with having them there.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have one. Usually I don't. I've grown a lot of things, but never cannabis. Is there a lot of fertilizer used on that? Nitrogen product, anything of that nature? Is it granular, liquid? And how is it applied?
So in our farming methods, we typically farm with organic amendments. We'll amend soil and we'll water in with just plain water or possibly water that has added microbes or stimulant or such, but there will not be any nitrogen runoff or nutrient runoff if that's the question that you're getting at. It will all retain within the plants and be used by the plants.
Yeah.
As
No, with just a concern because it's all connected to the septic system.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
I have a question. Can you explain number 12, which is using water extraction, solvent-free method, immersing the cannabis plant in freezing water?
Oh yeah, so in typical cannabis extraction methods, they usually would, or it's been typical to use solvents, which would be butane, propane, something that would basically freeze and pull the chemicals through the plant, and then you would evaporate off the chemical and be left with your product, but it tends to be a pretty dangerous version of extracting. So the safer way to extract is solventless, where you basically use natural elements like ice and water and friction to do mechanical separation versus chemical separation of the compounds. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Hess?
I've got a question, refresh my memory on that 200 gallons a day that are gonna go in your septic. Maybe, I don't know if the county can answer this or you can answer it, but should that wastewater be tested occasionally? I mean, we do it for landfills, you do it for various things. Is it a concern or is it not a concern? I'm just asking the question.
So all the water that would be going into the septic would be from RO reject. So when a reverse osmosis system is running, usually it'll kick out about 20% of the 20% of the water back into the drain. And the dehumidifiers, which would be a condensate. So it wouldn't
Wouldn't have chemicals.
it wouldn't have any additives. It would just be basically a pure water.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for your presentation. At this time, we'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on the issue? Is there anyone here to speak on the issue? Well, this is easy. Is there anyone here to speak on the issue?
Move to close the public hearing.
I'll
That would be the
second.
case.
All in favor?
Aye.
What are the wishes of the board?
I'll make a motion that we approve their application.
Is there a second?
A second.
The motion included the 10 conditions of approval.
With the
Oh,
ten-
I beg your pardon, yeah.
I just want to make sure it included the 10 conditions.
Yes, with the, yes.
All right, thank you.
And the findings.
Okay,
All right, we will go through the findings of fact then.
all right.
Mr. Schneider.
Yeah, so, no interim use permit can be recommended for approval unless planning commission shall find, these conditions have been met. And just so you know, the italicized comments are staff recommendations, you can adopt them and, go from there. So, that the interim use permit will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of the property in the immediate vicinity for purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the immediate vicinity.
Yes, the proposed use is not anticipated to diminish or impair the values within the immediate area. All activities will take place within the accessory structure, and the proposed conditions of approval should assist in minimizing impact on neighboring properties.
Thank you. Number 2, that the establishment of the interim use permit will not impede normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant properties for uses predominant in the area.
Yes, the permitting of this IUP will not impede development. The building exists and the property will continue to be used as a residential property. There have been different businesses operating from the accessory building on this property since 2007.
Great. Number 3, that adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, other necessary facilities have and are being provided.
The applicant, yes, the applicant has provided operational plans that will comply with state statute 342-23 and 342-24 and 342.28. MnDOT has reviewed the proposed use and determined the access to be sufficient for the proposed use.
Number 4, that adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide sufficient off-street parking, loading space to serve the proposed use.
Yes, the applicant has enough parking space to accommodate the proposed use.
Great. And lastly, that adequate measures have been or will be taken to prevent offensive odors, fumes, dust, noise, vibrations. None of these will constitute a nuisance. Control lighted signs and other lights and manners that no disturbance to neighboring properties will result.
Yes, this business is not anticipated to cause offensive odors, fumes, dust, noise, and vibration to the immediate area. All activities will be conducted in the accessory building.
Thank you, Butch.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this interim use permit. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Motion is passed. Again, this will be directed to the county board on May 6th. It would be a good idea to be here in attendance, so.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Agenda item number 3, Fuller Garden LLC. Owner Gary and Kathleen Kiffmeyer. They're requesting an interim use permit for a solar farm construction, Clear Lake Township. PID 20-00224-2100, Section 24, Town 34, Range 30, Clear Lake Township. Mr. Glines.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you mentioned, Fuller Garden LLC, the property owner of Gary and Kathleen Kiffmeyer Trust, they are requesting interim use permit for a solar farm, 1 megawatt, which would be contracted with Excel. I did hand out an attachment that I received from the applicant today. I also updated the packet. It's going to be called Updated Operation and Maintenance Task. Based off the township meeting, the comments from Clear Lake Township were, Clear Lake Township approves the IUP request. Number one, we prefer a chain link fence, which they're proposing, and we feel the IUP maintenance plan should be improved to include more on-site inspections, looking for panels that are in disarray. So with that, they provided an updated one this morning that hopefully meets Clear Lake's comments and goals for that. But with that, we did hear from MnDOT on two specific requirements. One is access location. MnDOT might want a slight adjustment of the access just to avoid a conflict with the turn lane, but generally the access placement is fine. And then for drainage, we went back and forth with some CAD drawings between the applicant and MnDOT, and ultimately MnDOT commented based on the 2, 10, and 100 post stormwater flow totals are lower than the pre-totals, and no drainage structure being installed on the state right-of-way, no drainage permit will be required. So they satisfied that requirement. But again, Fuller Garden LLC is proposing to place the 1 megawatt solar farm on 6 acres of the overall 79.85 acre. You can see on the site plan that it will be on a triangle that's separating the property by State Highway 24. They're proposing to have 4 new utility poles for the solar farm with Xcel Energy. New poles are located adjacent to State Highway 24. 1 pole will be located across the highway and on the same parcel as the solar farm. The site will have approximately 2,180 fixed solar panels. The racking system is installed in the ground with pilings at a depth of 6 to 10 feet. Construction is targeted for spring or summer of 2026, and working times are proposed to be between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Weekend work may take place if there are significant project delays due to weather. In the conditions, you'll see that we left those blank for the hours of operation, so we can have discussion on that, and if we want weekend hours to be allowed. They're proposing to plant native plantings 30 to 36 inches in height. They're proposing eastern red cedars along the highway, and only along the highway. To the north, we have an existing solar farm, and then to the west, on the west part of this property, there are coniferous already located on the property. They would just need to keep those trees on the property to maintain that screening. They did do a glare study, although it wasn't required. They did do it because it's a anti-glare coating. No glare is predicted from the roadways or buildings within the area. The applicant submitted an interconnection application to Xcel Energy on December 21st of 2023. They are currently in the Xcel interconnection queue waiting transmission study, and an executed interconnection agreement is anticipated for the summer of 25. The applicant is proposing a 36-year lease. We've seen a 35, we've seen some 40-year lease. For this reason, is the lease with the landowner will begin once the solar array becomes operational, and the lease can extend to 35 years. If the IUP terms begins at the date of the IUP decision, 35 years will not cover the whole full term. 7-foot-high non-electric chain link fence will be placed around the solar farm. And again, access to the proposed solar farm shall be from State Highway 24, with the driveway access permit being obtained from MnDOT. With that, I do need to have some corrections on the conditions and then add a condition based off comments we've received from the commissioners based off of a condition we have added to a solar farm last month. So it was favorable, and we do it on this one. The applicant will let them know. But for number 13, if it's going to be 36 years, it'll be until December 31st, 2061, not 2060. So if we can make that correction to 2061. And then the property owner, on that same condition, this IUP is valid for Fuller Garden LLC and Gary and Kathleen Kiffmeyer. We just need to add trust because it's owned by the trust. So if we could add that. And then number 20, if we could add The applicant shall inspect and repair within 30 days of identified or notice of disrepair. Any repairs that will exceed 30 days shall be requested in writing and approved by the zoning administrator. So that was a condition that was added, and we think we should do the same to give a time frame of when we see panels that they have 30 days of notice to get those repaired. Obviously, with the new updated operational and maintenance task, they're gonna do some more inspections on the property, so it'll either be them identifying them or us identifying them, the planning and zoning, or any residents that we get a complaint on from. But with that, the applicant is in the audience, and unless I have, and I can answer any questions as well.
Should we resolve the hours of construction at this time?
Do you want to do that now, or if you want to
Okay, we can do
hear
it.
from the applicant first, and then we
Are
can make
there,
a
are
decision?
there any questions for the staff?
I have one.
Yes.
I mean, on 6, you say to be 30 to 36 inches in height, and then in condition at 7 foot.
That's the trees.
We've,
Oh, the native plantings will be 30 to 36 inches. What they plant under the arrays will be
I got
the native plantings.
Any other questions? Mr. Haas?
I got a question. Are we getting kind of willy-nilly on this, how many days or how many years it's gonna be good for? I mean, we've had some 30-year ones, if I recall, and 35 years and 36 years now. My question is it gonna be 40 years next and then 50 years? Or, I mean, I think there should be a standard here. And I think they should adhere to one of the standards instead of the board doing what they wish. So is there, I guess I get questions for the staff, I guess.
Well, we do have a 40-year lease. That's the most. This one would be 35 based off the construction of the solar, when it's up and running. That's when the lease starts. That's not gonna happen until potentially next year. So that would be why they're requesting the 36 years and not as opposed to the traditional or normal 35 years.
I understand that, but I think as the board, we have standards with everything else. I think we should determine what the standard's gonna be, and if it's gonna be 36 years, so be it, but, or 30 years or 35 years.
is there any reason of the changes? I mean, is
Lynn,
it
can you lean in on this?
panels or?
We just don't have a lot of history on this, Mitch and I, so Lynn, if you could throw your 2 cents in.
Well, and it feels like years ago, they were originally asking for 25 years. Then at some point, it became 30, and Mitch is correct. At one point, we did have at least one of them that's at 40 years. We usually ask the applicant, what are you asking for? What are your wishes? And that's what we bring forth to the board. But if the board planning commission has concerns with it, or the county board, you know, we can certainly amend it. But we've in the past asked what the applicant needed.
Does that have anything to do with the amount of money that is put into escrow?
It does not. The amount of money is based on the megawatts that are being proposed. It's $100,000 per megawatt.
One problem I have there too, the deposit for the decommissioning in 40 years, that money is not going to become close to decommissioning it. So the farther out we go, the further in the hole somebody gets, in my opinion. So I think it's an issue that someone has to address.
Initially, when we started, we were at 25,000 per megawatt. A number of years ago, we re-looked at it with the county board and went to 100,000. It may be worthwhile to take a look at it again. I know different counties, it's all across the board what they're charging. There's some charging quite a bit more than 100,000. There are some charging a lot less than 100,000. But that may be something that would be worthwhile to find out what the numbers are that we're seeing from our neighboring counties and from the different areas as far as what they're requiring.
I think part of the length of the term of the leases is regarding to the length of the panels are getting to the point where they'll last longer. I think it's not a 20-year lease where the panels used to be 10 years ago, 20 years was the longevity of the panels. I think some of the panels now, and I think the applicant could probably address that, but I think some of the panels now will last up to 35 years is part of it, yes. But there are other counties that are considerably more than 100,000 per megawatt, and I think that needs to be addressed.
And there's also where they do a formula, it's so much money based on how many years. It's gonna
Right.
be- Which kind of Butch addresses. I mean,
Okay, and I'm
they
not,
take that into.
I
a
wasn't aware of
formula.
that, so I mean,
Some of them do,
Yeah.
some of them don't. Yeah, they're all over the map.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for staff? This time we'll have the applicant come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Angela Becker. I am a project developer with Nokomis Energy. Our office address is 2836 Lindale Avenue South in Minneapolis.
Gary Kiffmeyer, property owner. My address is 5541 Haven Road, Southeast St. Cloud.
No, are you aware of the now proposed 20 conditions, and are you able to abide by them?
Yes, we are. And yes.
Any questions for the applicant? I have one comment. I like your maintenance plan, but I'm glad that we put a condition on there for a 30-day frequency as opposed to what was shown initially, so.
Yes, that would be 30 days once an issue is identified. We would be happy to look into that.
Okay.
What about number 7?
can you answer the question on the life of the panels and answer my concerns, please?
Yes, so that is accurate. So before, the panels were not very efficient, and as time goes on and technology improves, the life of the panels, their service life has significantly lengthened, and that's one of the reasons why we adjusted our leases from 25 to 30 years to 35 years to accommodate for that. And there's also a factor of the financial planning for our projects to make sure that our projects remain feasible and maximize the technology that's available to us.
Thank you.
We need to discuss the hours of operation for construction operations.
So the applicant's proposing Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Correct.
And then it's just the weekends where,
The weekend was kind of, conditional if they run into weather problems by their presentation anyhow, so.
Mhm.
But I don't see a problem with 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. myself.
would that be Saturday and Sunday or just Saturday?
Including Saturday and Sunday. Well, yeah,
Saturday.
might as well keep it that way.
I've worked on a lot of projects, and 7 to 7 is a good number. However, I think in a situation like this, it wouldn't be hard for the company to ask the town board a couple days ahead if they get behind, and let it up to the town board if they want them to work Saturdays or Sundays. I'm not in favor of giving them a blanket weekend policy, but I would be all right with having them contact the town board if they could run into rain delays or floods or, early snow or whatever, so that'd be my opinion.
And just to clarify, the condition right now is only on Saturdays on the weekend, not Sundays is not the way it's currently written.
Any other questions or comments? I'm assuming MnDOT got your full set of drainage plans, because it's most of the
Yes.
runoff does go to Trunk Highway 24, so,
Yes, we did submit some drainage plans to MnDOT for their review.
okay. Yeah. Other questions or comments? At this time, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone out there to speak on this issue?
Going out there.
Greg's the only one.
Anyone out there to speak on this issue? Is there anyone out there to speak on this issue?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chair,
Sir?
I would recommend approval with the hours of operation for construction that we discussed from 7 to 7. Mr. Glines added 61 and Kiffmeyer Trust.
Yep. And number 20.
And we have a number 20,
Yep, number 20 would read the applicant.
repairs within 30 days.
Yeah, the applicant shall inspect and repair within 30 days of identified or notice of this repair. Any repairs that will exceed 30 days shall be requested in writing and approved by the zoning.
I believe that was it.
And then what do you want for weekends, hours? Or-
7 to 7, I believe.
Is that for Saturday and Sunday?
Saturday.
Saturday, 7 to 7?
Yes, we're okay with that.
Do you want Sundays or no Sundays?
If needed, is that something we could request for us to be allowed to do work on that?
That I would recommend you go to the board for.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Understood. So we're okay with Saturday,
Yeah.
if that's what the planning commission wants.
I think MinDOT would have a bigger call on that because of the traffic on
I was just
Highway
gonna say.
24. Right around
Good
me.
point.
Yeah.
Gotta remember where that is.
It's right across from the bunk farm that we did last month.
Need a second.
Okay.
I'll make
Yep,
that
we need a
second.
second. Okay. At this time, we will have the recital of the findings of fact.
All right,
Mr. Glines.
Mr. Daniels, you ready?
You bet.
That the interim use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, or substantially diminish and impair property values within the immediate vicinity.
Yes, the proposed location of the solar farm is in an existing agricultural field. Closest adjoining neighboring house is approximately 520 feet to the west. The remaining land adjacent to the solar farm is a highway, state highway, and the solar farm to the north and agricultural farmed properties. The solar farm will be planted with new trees along the existing trees to reduce visual impacts to adjoining properties and road.
Number 2, that the establishment of the interim use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for uses predominant in the area.
Yes, the IUP will be valid for 36 years. If the property owner no longer wants solar panels, the infrastructure can be removed and the site can either go back to farming or be utilized for a new use. The property the solar farm is proposed on is zoned agricultural district and could not be subdivided to less than 40-acre properties under current zoning regulations.
Number 3, that adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities have been or are being provided.
Yes, driveway access to State Highway 24 will be from a driveway entrance that will need to obtain MnDOT's approval and a permit. Utility lines necessary to transfer electricity exist adjacent to the property and across the highway.
Report that adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide sufficient off-street parking and loading space to serve the proposed use.
Yes, there is plenty of parking available on this property needed for construction and operation.
And number 5, that adequate measures have been or will be taken to prevent or control offensive odor, fumes, dust, noise, and vibrations, so that none of these will constitute nuisance, and to control lighted signs and other lights in such a manner that no disturbance to the neighboring properties will result.
Yes, construction of the site will cause noise and additional traffic. This will be temporary. Once the solar farm construction is complete, traffic will be minimal and consist of company vehicles inspecting the panels.
Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved, seconded, and the findings have been read. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. This will be in front of the county board on May 6th. It would be a good idea to be here.
Thank you very much.
Agenda item number 4. This request amendment to the Sherburne County comprehensive land use map for private energy production installation of energy-producing solar farm. Again, PID 20-00224-2100, Section 24, Town 34, Range 30, Clear Lake Township. Guess that's it. Mr. Glines.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a requirement coming out of the 2040 comprehensive plan. Any new properties that are requesting solar farms do need to request a amendment to the comprehensive land use plan, an amendment, as I stated, identifying that new property as a energy production private solar field. So you go to that current one, Mark. So you can see, you can zoom in on one that has it.
State Highway 24, you can see the pink dots.
Yep.
Those are parcels where solar farms are currently located. We wanted to be able to give some context with our comprehensive plan where we have solar farms in Sherburne County. The large block ones are part of the Sherco project. And yeah, the intent was to try to identify how many of these we have out there and give a little context when you look at the land use map where solar exists in Sherburne County or energy production.
Yep, so this request is just updating this map with a pink
A new
dot.
point.
Yeah, new point.
Is there any questions for staff? Is this going to apply to all?
All new ones.
All the new ones.
You have older, like the last two that we had last month, those were already on this map as they were, the parcels were already, had IUPs approved for them, so we didn't have to do any amendments there. Any new solar farms on properties that are not identified with that pink dot on the land use map?
In the intent behind this, you know, when we went out to the townships and we talked to townships about the comprehensive plan and solar and energy production, we have performance standards. So right now, a solar farm can request an interim use permit. If they comply with all the performance standards, then it's, you know, pretty difficult to not move forward with it. The comprehensive plan gives an opportunity to say, is this, you know, an appropriate use in that area? Is it in conflict maybe with the uses in that area? So it gives a little additional oversight or, you know, monitoring of new proposed solar farms.
Sure. Does the notion that this site is located within an orderly annexation region, does that have any bearing?
So
I think this would be more addressed at the township level, if, you know, when they go for this map, if there's any concerns, you know, then we would, during that land use map amendment, then we would get comments if there were any concerns, you know, between, for sure.
And we didn't receive any comments from the city on the orderly annexation in that area.
Yeah, well, once again, we'll ask the applicant to come to the podium, state name and address.
Angela Becker with Nokomis Energy, 2836 Lindell Avenue South in Minneapolis.
Gary Kiffmeyer, 5541 Haven Road, Southeast St. Cloud.
Are there any questions regarding this proposed mapping change to for the applicants? Do we have a public hearing on this?
Mark, is there a public hearing on that?
It's part of a public hearing agenda, so yes, I would assume there'd be a public hearing on this, yes.
Okay, at this time, we'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone out there wishing to speak on this issue? Is there anyone out there willing to speak on this issue? Is there anyone out there wishing to speak on this issue?
Move to close that public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
What are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chair,
Sir.
I would recommend approval. Is there there's no condition?
No findings on this, so it's just reasoning behind the amendment.
Okay. Well,
you know, a reasoning could be, you know, looking at the existing area, there are, you know, is it compatible with other uses in the immediate area? So there are several solar farms out in this area. It is along the electric lines. Could be reasons.
That I will say what he said.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Let's not overcomplicate this thing.
I'll second the motion. It looks as if planning and zoning is looking for a roll call of sorts on this one.
Just a motion and a recommendation of.
You want each individual
Nope.
or, no? We can just haul off and vote.
Call
Works for me.
Call to vote.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Do we want to talk about this $100,000? I mean, my thing is that I'd like to see something come back from zoning, a recommendation, but I would also like to see something prorated so that someone with a 25-year isn't paying the same as someone with a 40-year.
Yeah,
Was there some way you could,
some type of a present value analysis?
cost of living?
Well,
index
it
with
should be
itself?
prorated
Yeah.
somehow. You know, there should be some sort of formula, but
And to the best of my knowledge, in speaking with other zoning administrators, and I can do some double checking on it, is that the other counties have it based on the number of megawatts, not necessarily that I'm aware of anything tied to the year, but that would certainly be a good question that I can send out and ask.
well, I mean, we started out at 100,000 based on 25 years.
Mhm.
And now we're looking at 40-year
36, 40, yeah.
life. And it just,
Sure.
it doesn't seem to work.
Yep, we can see what we can find on that.
But yeah, the economic analysis or engineering analysis for present value, it's a fairly simple formula to come up with
I'm not gonna have to worry about it.
Yeah, everything's a lifetime warranty now.
I do know that I've spoke to the economic guy from Renville County, and he said they're $200,000 per megawatt as of right now.
And I think Stearns County is more. They're
think
one of
so,
them that are
yeah.
more. I want to say about 175,000 a megawatt, but I could be wrong on that number. It's somewhere in that vicinity, I believe.
And none of those numbers are tied or indexed to inflation. They're just a fixed number that we have. So I agree with Butch that in 20, 30, 35, or 40 years, there's probably not going to be enough there for a decommissioning aspect of it. So a larger number might be a prudent thing to look at.
Yeah, I think we need to look at it again.
That's it? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. I made it again.
You had all the opportunity in the world.
Thank you.